Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this bilateral investment series, Advantage India, the ease of doing business. Without further ado, I will kick it over to the chairman of the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, the West Indian Council.
Thanks, Alison. Alison is from Witham. Just as a correction, I'm not the chairman of the Indo-American Chamber, I'm chairman of the BFSI committee. Good evening, participants from India, Australia, and rest of Asia. Good afternoon to all the participants from the Middle East, Asia, Europe, and Africa. Good morning to all the participants from USA, Canada, and South America. Hope all of you are healthy and safe in this COVID pandemic. I have pleasure in welcoming you to the second webinar of the 5 series Advantage India series, which was inaugurated on 25th of June 2020 by our Honorable Piyush Goyalji, the Minister of Railways, Industry and Commerce. That program we had Kaku Nakate, the CEO of Bank of America, Ramesh Nair, the Managing Director of JLL, and Chris Frenzen, the General Manager of Grand Hyatt. Under the dynamic leadership of Naushad Panjwani, the President of Indo-American Chamber of Commerce West India region, very ably supported by Witham, which is a 25-year-old, 25th ranked consulting tax and audit firm in US. Kelly Dry, which is the second largest law firm of US, which is more than 180 years old. The Indo-American Chamber of Commerce Greater Houston, we have Mr. Jagdip Ahluwalia with us. The Georgia Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, the US India Chamber of Commerce, and Futurism, all are supporting this series of 5 series webinar of Advantage India. We decided to showcase Advantage India in today's uncertain times of COVID pandemic, which is resulting in realignment of global relationships and trade between countries. After we finish the Advantage India series, we'll be having the Advantage US series also, which we are working on, and you should await for that slowly. Today, our very own hardworking Vice President, Saurabh Shah, who is piloting the ease of doing business theme in the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce. He's already had few roundtables with various participants, and we've given our report to the government also. He's going to be the coordinator of the panel discussion with the very young and dynamic Avani Davda, the first CEO of Starbucks in India, and the strong and versatile Mr. B.C. Rao, the Managing Director of Kennametal India. In this following session, we have the very, very dynamic, young and dynamic Minister of Energy of Gujarat, Saurabhbhai, is already there with us. Saurabhbhai, thanks for being there with us, Mr. Saurabh Patel. And as also the Industry and the Health Minister of Goa, Mr. Vishwajit Rane. We are showcasing a few states, starting with Gujarat and Goa for the first time. Then we'll be showcasing Maharashtra. With this initial remarks, I'm handing over to Saurabh to start the panel discussion along with Avani and Mr. Rao. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nilesh Vikamsey. Namaste and greetings to all our esteemed participants from US, India, and from other countries attending this webinar. I would like to compliment my President Naushad Panjwani, who is the architect of this series and this initiative. Thanks, Naushad, for your thoughtful leadership. I would like to begin by quoting a brilliant line by Socrates, the father of Western philosophy. He said, "The secret of change is to focus all your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new." Friends, let me highlight how and why India has advantage for becoming a new and sustainable hub for investments. India is rich in natural resources. India has the ideas of the youth, wisdom of ages, and the vibrancy of a democracy. With these 3 forces, India is prepared to do original research, to design development and manufacturing in India. India used to be a global hub of goods before the British rule. So Indians have always had it in them to be global manufacturers. India is a vast nation. The challenges and opportunities in one region are different from that in another. Friends, at present, India has a very proactive and result-focused government. very encouraging and commendable steps have been taken by the present government in the sectors and segments such as skill development and MSME. New policies, reforms, goals, and dreams are pursued, and there is a fresh urgency towards them. There has been a realignment of energies for new missions. Focus on multi-pronged approach across many sectors concurrently is the order and the need of the hour. Mission teams are being set up to bring together system thinking, system design, and system integration. Digital India has the potential to activate the knowledge connectivity in villages and remote areas. It is a mission with tremendous potential for collateral benefits. Over the next 2 decades, more than $1.5 trillion investments have been planned for infrastructure in our country. India ranked number 2 in Global Retail Development Index in the year 2019. According to the Department for Promotion and Industry and Internal Trade, FDI equity inflow in India stood at $456.79 billion during April 2000 to December 2019, indicating, friends, that government's efforts to improve ease of doing business and relaxing FDI norms has yielded positive results. India offers a large marketplace with increasing purchase power parity. India has the largest in number in startup being added every year, every hour. 4 startups per hour is what the statistics shows. Third largest in number of startups and third largest in unicorn community. Honesty, integrity, skill, and facility are the driving forces of India's growth engine. As per World Bank's Ease of Doing Business Report 2020, India has jumped 14 positions in the Ease of Doing Business ranking. There has been significant improvement in India's ranking in last 5 years. India has improved its rank in 7 out of 10 indicators and has moved closer to international benchmarks and best practices. Significant improvement has been registered in key indicators being resolving insolvency, dealing with construction permits, registering property, trading across boards, and paying taxes. As Mr. Nilesh mentioned, a roundtable deliberation meeting was organized by West Indian Council of the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce in association with Khaitan & Company as a knowledge partner to deliberate on ease of doing business. Leadership of various large companies as well as MSME sector participated and deliberated on the issues being faced in relation to ease of doing business in India and more specifically in the state of Maharashtra. A white paper has been submitted to the ministries both at the federal and the state level. With this opening remark, friends, we are indeed fortunate to have with us Ms. Avani Davda, the first CEO of Starbucks in India, and Mr. B.C. Rao, Managing Director of Kennametal India Limited. Before I invite them for panel discussion, I have the privilege and honor of giving a very brief introduction to this August gathering. Ms. Avani Davda is holding a master's degree in management studies from NMIMS, University of Mumbai, and a bachelor degree in commerce with honors from HR College, University of Mumbai. In her 18 years of experience in the field of business strategy in consumer and retail business, she has held several important positions in the past with Tata Administrative Services, Vice President, Tata Global Beverages Limited, Chief Executive of Tata Starbucks Limited, and since 2018, she is an independent director on the board of Mahindra Logistics Limited and external advisor to Brain & Company. I must highlight before this August gathering that she was the Chief Executive Officer of Tata Starbucks 50-50 joint venture between Starbucks Coffee Company and Tata Global Beverages Limited. She played a pivotal role in the development of the Tata Starbucks joint venture relationship between the two companies in preparation for entry into the Indian market. With this, I would like to now introduce Mr. B.C. Rao. Mr. Rao holds a bachelor's degree in medical engineering from Mysore University and has a total work experience over 40 years in the engineering, automotive, mining, and construction industry. Mr. Rao leads Kennametal India Limited operations in the country as its managing director, which is a subsidiary of USA-based multinational organization Kennametal Inc. During long professional career, he has worked with several prestigious organizations, Anand Group, ABB, IFB Industries, Senvic Asia, and has held important leadership positions. With this, I would like to invite both of our esteemed panelists to join for a panel discussion and interaction on the topic Advantage India, Ease of Doing Business. May I request Avani to give your opening remarks on Advantage India and Ease of Doing Business. Over to you, Avani.
Thank you, Saurabh. It's indeed a privilege to have this conversation with all of you. And, my co-panelist, Mr. B.C. Rao, as well as the people who are organizing this. The conversation that we're going to have over the next hour or so is so critical given the timing. There's so much pessimism around the country as well as the world as we are facing COVID, which is completely unprecedented. But one thing that gives me hope and builds optimism is the country that we live in and the kind of demographic that we have in India. I think we're a very resilient population. We've seen several difficult times, not just as a city of Mumbai, but as a country as a whole. And every time that I look back to history, I can only be thankful that, God's been with the country and the people here, the spirit that they represent is so wonderful. So with that, I believe that Advantage India is such an important subject for us, not just as a country, but given where geopolitical conditions are today and where the Eastern Hemisphere is, I think it's a very important conversation to be had. Not just because we represent this country, but also because in the larger interest of the global economy. I think to my mind, India not only represents a very large growing market in terms of a consumer market, it's one of the largest in the world. It also represents an amazing talent pool, the kind of people that you have here, the high caliber, and you look at every field, you'll find that Indians are definitely, specifically in the manufacturing or in the corporate sector. I mean, if you just Google the top 10 companies in the world, they're probably headed by Indians who've chosen to live abroad or are still in India. Having said that, I think the one thing that really inspires me about Indians is also their entrepreneurial spirit. So with that, I think we're talking about not just the largest consumer market in India, but also the amazing talent pool. And the timing of this conversation is so apt because we also have government both at the center as well as the state levels in very different states, which is really wanting to put India back on the global map.
Okay.
So that's it from me as an opening remark.
Sure.
Thank you.
Very well. Thank you, Avani. Over to you, Mr. B.C. Rao.
Good evening to you all. Greetings. Namaste. First of all, thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to be with you all. Advantage India, ease of doing business. I think that I couldn't have thought of a better timing than this. I truly believe that India is in a truly inflection point. Multinationals are interested in India. As I look at it, predominantly three things, the way the Kennametalists looked at India. First and the foremost is about large domestic market, like my co-panelist already, she talked about it of me. And also the export possibilities. Third thing I'm going to a little later share is about the advantage of combining the technology. If you see the top 500 companies, there are several of the multinationals having their technology research and development hubs in India. So what does it demonstrate? India is already leading in the service sector. I thought that when Saurabh sent me a small note about he did talk about that the manufacturing has to be stressed up. So combining the manufacturing, that is what is the drive today all about, the employability, how to increase the employment in the country, and which is hardly at around 15 to 16%. We have a short-term vision of in the medium term to take it around 25% and to generate nothing but around 100 million jobs. That's what is the crux of this. So if we marry these two things, our advantage of the service, and then in terms of the manufacturing advantage. Now, when we take a look at the advantage of the manufacturing, see, India had large public sector undertakings, government undertakings. Then the privatization started. We have made progress, but when we take a look at our neighboring countries, yes, it is a question mark whether there is an opportunity. I'm really glad that Government of India has talked about Make in India as a very major policy initiative.
Yes.
It is not only as just for the sake of talking about it. We are seeing a lot of actions, be it at the center or at the state. The beauty of it is about wherever I go around, I see that the government, all the political leaders talk about development, development, development as the single most agenda. That is the real sweetener. Okay, we do have issues, and that is where the ease of doing business has come in. There is a lot of involvement between the government, trade bodies, and the industrialists, including up to the India educational institutions that is going around. So we have made progress, like Saurabh, you talked about. We have moved up on the notch, but whether that is adequate, more has to happen. And I see a great commitment, and that couldn't have been time than the series of seminars what you are organizing to talk about the good things and also certain areas for opportunity. I hope we can.
Of course. So I'll be coming back to Mr. Rao with more questions on the same. Thank you, Mr. Rao.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. How do you find a good business partner in India? Can you share your experience and your journey in terms of collaboration and setting up and nurturing the relationship?
Thank you, Saurabh. I think a lot of different kinds of companies in different sectors, when they look at the Indian market, there is a realization that having a local partner, I think, goes a long way in not just appreciating the market and having a deep understanding of the consumer here, but more importantly, navigating through various different legal as well as government structures here. So finding a local partner, I think I'm going to speak as somebody who was involved in the Tata Starbucks joint venture. I think when you're very clear as to what your business strategy is going to be and you want to tap into the Indian market, you need to look for like-minded people. In this case, the Starbucks was really looking at a company that stood for values and the philosophy with which they operated the business. And the House of Tatas really saw that this is not just an iconic brand, but it is a company that really cares about the people. So fundamentally, the chemistry, whatever business you're in, I think you have to find the right local people. And when doing so, I don't think you only have to see the top 10 or the top 50 companies. If you look at a lot of regional players, there's so much of entrepreneurial spirit in India that while looking for a right partner, I think you need to have your criteria, but you need to go out and see that the person you or the company that you really partner with brings to bearing the strength. So from my experience, I think Starbucks was fairly fortunate to find the House of Tata and the way that the joint venture went. It was truly a partnership because Tata's had the understanding of the consumer. They also had the, the just by sheer over 100 years of doing business here. But I also see this sort of in smaller tie-ups. When I look at fashion industry, when I look at food industry, I find amazing regional players who are also ripe to be partners for any foreign player. So my experience has been very positive. And a lot of times in the retail sector, specifically, people think that you really need a partner who can fix the government. I don't think that's the mindset with which any foreign collaboration should be looked at. I think understanding our laws, like anywhere you go in the world, whether it's Europe, whether it's China, every country has their laws. You need to just understand the right way of doing it rather than trying to take a shortcut. Yeah. So right, I think partnerships in India are definitely important, and you must find somebody who matches your way of doing business as well as meets your strategic criteria.
All right. Okay. Mr. Rao, what according to you is the outlook of the automotive sector in India, which is considered to be the backbone of manufacturing?
Well, automotive, today when we talk about automotive has a significant weightage in the GDP. As it is, we talk about around 16% of the manufacturing into the GDP, and there the automotive is pretty high for anybody and everybody who is associated with this. It is the fourth largest when we talk about in terms of the number of automotive vehicles which are made. At the moment when we talk about today, there are structural changes are happening. We have to keep it in mind about the, be it in terms of the emission norms, whether it is in terms of BS6 upgrade we talk about, the safety norms are getting upgraded. And before COVID, shared mobility was a new thing. So that primed up a lot of requirement for the passenger vehicles. And of course, in terms of the commercial vehicles, also the construction related, mining related, logistic movement. We did see in the last 5 years, any company who are associated with this, all of us, we moved up our top line and also the earnings, nothing less than 50%. We added capacities. It is only now that the last few quarters, I would say that it's almost now 1 year, it is a little slow. Then this COVID situation has come. But the brighter side of it is about, again, there is a personal transport is going to look up. Two-wheelers, I already seeing it is coming back. We are the largest manufacturers in the world. Passenger cars also come back. And we are only waiting for the commercial vehicles to swing back. But otherwise, medium commercial vehicles are already coming back. It is a market to be in. We are going to grow.
Okay, right. Before I take the next question to Avani, may I inform all the participants that please, you can share your question on the chat box, and we will certainly take up those questions with our esteemed panelists. Avani, FDI, the foreign direct investment in multi-brand product retail, is 51% through government approval. There is a sense of fear amongst the Indian players that if it is increased, it shall affect them immensely. What are your views on this subject?
Saurabh, this 51% FDI in retail and the entire outlook, the media hypes a lot of, the defense and the negativity about it. I think I've worked in retail for almost, 8 to 10 years. And I can tell you that allowing foreign players to come in, it should be looked upon as an opportunity. The reason I say that is because the people who are criticizing and saying that competition is going to finish some of the older businesses that we have is actually not playing out. All right. Over the last decade, if you see anything to do with, the retail market has taught us one thing, that you require investment, and you require that in supply chain. You require that in the logistics, warehousing, entire vertical. You also require to invest in technology. And both of these are like the backbone for any retail operation. If a foreign partner and if the foreign brands come to India and are able to really invest in this, then I think it's a huge opportunity. It opens up the market for everybody. Like I said, in food and grocery, again, investments in areas like agriculture will go a long way in really opening it up. Another interesting point is that we're seeing a lot of consolidation in retail happening, where there are Indian giants as well as foreign partners who've taken stakes in Indian companies, and they are going to really grow. So instead of worrying about competition, instead of worrying about opening doors, I think the theme that one needs to focus on is collaboration. Can I really collaborate and leverage the technology that a foreign player can bring in and therefore open up my market? Because we've seen that Indian companies or the way that the retail sector is so disorganized or unorganized, if I can say that. And it's not that even a small retailer can get displaced or get disrupted, right? Just by thinking that a foreign player will come in. An Indian player could also disrupt you. So I think the entire era and the way to look at it with pessimism and defense is over. I think you're going to get disrupted. That's a reality. So rather than make noise about competition being unhealthy, I think we should look at it as partnership, collaboration. And the areas where we really need to really jumpstart and be agile is investment through tech as well as supply chain. So my view is that the government is playing their role. Yes, there have been a few back and forth in it, which does create anxiety. But I think one needs to appreciate that India is one of the largest democracies in the world, right? It's a complicated market. It's not easy to govern it. And I'm not defending the government. I'm saying there are conditions under which there are laws that are made. But as a corporate or as somebody who wants to play in this market, I think we have to make sure that we bring in the right people who are making investments in the areas that we need them, right? So collaboration rather than defense is something that I see it.
All right, fantastic. Yeah. Mr. Rao, supply chain are essential for a healthy and effective manufacturing sector. What steps you think India can take to improve the existing supply chains?
So when we talk about supply chain, it encompasses right from the raw material to the manufacturing, into the transportation, warehousing, and reaching right up to the customer end. Today, the whole supply chain is going through a big change. I would call it as the 4 V's are becoming important. Variability is very high. This is volume agnostic, like customers want small quantity, they want suddenly some big quantity. And third one is about the visibility. They want anything and everything, whether my order is booked, when is this thing is coming. And then velocity getting compressed. Now, these kind of things, if it has to happen, we have to go in for technology, be it in the manufacturing, be it in the logistic, in the movement, warehousing techniques, anything and everything. Artificial intelligence data capturing becomes very, very important. And the current trend is about to look at the green supply chains. See, the 3 R's are becoming, when we take a look at it, reduce, reuse, recycle. So that's what is good for the business. So I would say that the supply chains, if it is within the country, let's talk about automotive. A little while ago, you talked about India is the hub of the small cars. India, the moment there's going to be a scrapping of the commercial vehicles, nobody can prevent the pent-up demand coming up in this kind of a thing. When you take a look at the supply chain, 27% is still coming from outside. Why is it so? When we take a tractor is the one early, it has now come back in terms of the COVID situation, because entire supply chain is within the country. So we have to give that kind of supply chain attention, manufacturing, distribution, logistics, and capturing the customer, what they want, when they want, and ensuring that it is right at the dot time available.
Saurabhbhai, you're on mute. Saurabhbhai, you're on mute.
Sorry. Kennametal has presence in many countries around the world, both developing and developed countries. Where do you think that India is ahead, and where is India lacking when compared to other nations? Your quick inputs on this.
See, Kennametal, we operate in 60 countries. We have 47 factories worldwide. When you take a look at the corporate viewpoint on India, they are very, very enthusiastic about the huge availability of talent, English-speaking population, the youngsters, the adaptability, the culture. And we are able to house in this campus, in an integrated campus where we are in Bangalore, the research and development, the engineering, the IT support services, which is also catering to the global. So this is what is a clear advantage when we see that. And in India, we don't have the kind of scale what our other Asian markets have. So, but that is an advantage when we take a look at it, that engineering small quantity, custom made, that is where they are seeing a value. You talked about what is that other countries have, which India do not have. I would say that little more quality mindset. The flexibility, the labor laws, they would like to see it. In terms of, I would say that even skill gaps, particularly now we have started facing when we go in for Industry 4.0 or Internet of the Things, that is where they believe that something, if we can do more, that would be good.
Fantastic. Very well. Avani, over to you. Processed and packed food market is gaining a lot of importance. More youths in urban cities like Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, and Ahmedabad are looking towards these options. A separate policy to boost investment in these businesses may be undertaken. Any views on the same?
I think I've worked with food both as a lifestyle brand like Starbucks and Nature's Basket. I think the one thing that I've learned by my interactions with consumers in this space is that food, cricket, and Bollywood are like, the thing that defines Indians. So food plays a very big role in our social life. And if I look at the demographic, I think the millennials form a very large part of the population. Having said that, the way that food industry can explode with the right amount of investment in technology and entrepreneurship, I think can take us really leaps ahead of some of the foreign countries. The reason food today is still nascent. When I look at the manufacturing or when I look at the kind of brands that we have in the country, the kind of formats in which food is delivered is still very nascent. And given that this entire culture of eating local, eating regional is gaining a lot of power, if you see the last few at least the last few years, people don't necessarily want to eat something that comes out of an imported packet. They want to eat what is made in India. They want to eat quality food. So if we really put our minds to it and work with the local governments to not just provide technology parks in a few states, but across the country, especially in states where West Side for food really need to focus on bringing foreign collaborators, fast tracking the technology and making it here and making it more fresher. So two things in food are very important, and this is a trend in India. One is eat local and eat regional. Second is eat very fresh. The third thing which is very important is that the supply chain in our country, and I speak that because freshness is very important to the consumer, we really need to build the cold chain. And I believe that if we replicate the model that India has been able to do in milk, if you see our entire history in milk, I think we're one of the only nations that has really innovated, not just in product and the way the supply chain works. We've created the largest cooperative in the world. We're a very large dairy market. So what gives me hope is that if the government uses unique models and does the same thing with food, I think there's no stopping the way in which the entrepreneurship as well as the existing FMCG companies can really take advantage of the explosion growth that's going to happen in the food sector. So to my mind, Saurabh, three things. One is you've got to build out technology that can get manufacturing, local government, state government, building the right food tech and investment in supply chain, and a unique model so that even agriculture as a sector can really benefit by this entire growth. And what better than to learn from Amul and NDDB, the cooperatives that we've done.
All right. Only just one more question and a quick reply, which I would request you to give. Post-COVID, due to various initiatives like Atmanirbhar Bharat, Make in India, do you see a rise of demand for Indian products in the market, or it is still a far-fetched dream? Your views?
I wouldn't say it's a far-fetched dream, but I think it's a dream that we really need to see every night with consistency and with a focus. And the focus here has to be the big Q, quality. To my mind, India has a fantastic entrepreneurship spirit, has a government that intends to really make in India. But if I were to request them, I think they should say make quality in India. I think we need that mindset right from the senior offices of the government to permeate down to the entrepreneurs and to the companies. Because if we're able to get the quality mindset, I think then Atmanirbhar India can be a dream that we realize. And I'm not saying that because of what other countries do. I'm saying that because of the consumer that you have in India. Our domestic market is so large, and people here understand quality and they are very discerning. If you look at technology products, or you look at food, or you look at fashion, Indian mindset has always been about quality. I think it's just the manufacturers who are not paying attention to it.
Okay. Over to you, Mr. Rao. What do you think about increase in the number of product-centric SEZ and product-centric policy? Is it a need of the hour?
Well, yes, that's the whole concept. If you see in China, it has worked very well. In India, after a lot of debate, discussion around, it was a very, very well-informed decision. And sometime in the early 2000, it kicked in, earning the foreign exchange dollars, employment creation, a lot of exports. It did give us the success. But when we go around and see, the kind of the subsequent changes which happened in the last 10 years, that is something that is an opportunity to bring in a policy consistency and stability. Number two, when we talk about giving the incentives, we have to definitely segregate the performing units and the units which are not performing. I would tend to look at that, whether there is a need for us to look at some kind of a cluster. Let's talk about in the manufacturing. So those kind of a concepts now, it is worthwhile looking at it. Otherwise, having some kind of a dedicated hub is worthwhile, but I'm not very sure whether SEZ can take us there or something else we need to fit in.
Okay. Mr. Rob, how does Kennametal leverage on research and development and technology?
First and foremost, I'm extremely proud to say that we have a research and development which is DSIR recognized. Very few companies in India have this kind of in our field of product line. So that was the importance Kennametal gave. Number two is about they're extremely excited about our talents, ability to work in the diverse backgrounds, different time zones, and they are able to collaborate well. I can talk about out of the something like 20 new products which are on the plate. There are 8, our teams are seamlessly working with the global team. That is a recognition to the Indian team, and there are patents granted to Indian engineers. So we are very open, and Kennametal is quite keen. They are increasing the headcount. Today, 60% of the design of the drawings for the plants as well as the customers go from Bangalore. That is what is the trust they are reposing on us.
Thank you. Avani, coming to on the FMCG and retail sector, development of rural economy is one of the major boons for the retail market in India. What is the strategy of growth aspirations in the rural areas for the FMCG and retail sector?
I think the rural sector, or what commonly people refer to as, there is India, which resides in the top 4 or 5 cities, and then there is a Bharat, right? Now, this Bharat is a very, very interesting consumer segment. And when you decide to take advantage of the growth and potential of the segment, you need to appreciate that you're going to be up against a lot of challenger brands and a lot of challenger entrepreneurs. So to my mind, to win in the entire demand fulfillment of the rural segment, you need to pay attention on a few things. One is definitely that you need a regional strategy. You can't go with a national strategy, because in India, in one city, you will have 27 or 28 different types of customers. And I'm even talking about the smaller, the smaller cities. The region-wise strategy is what is the right way to go here, because if you try and cover the whole country with one product line, especially in things like food, clothing, or even technology, it's not going to work. So there you have to recognize that there is a regional India, and you need to play it each region-wise. And this has to, it's played out in several segments. If you look at regional companies in food, they are so strong in states like Gujarat, in Maharashtra, and even in the north, that MNCs, whether it's PepsiCo or large food companies, they're not able to make any headway, because these regional companies understand local preferences. The second thing is that when you are an FMCG company, your key has to be reaching the product there and thinking about different distribution models. And in India, it is omni-channel, and the last mile delivery becomes very important. So you need to have a good mix of investments while partnering with people who have already, like large players or hyper-local deliveries. But at the same time, you need unique models. I remember years back in Tata Tea, it is one of the largest share in terms of tea market in India, and it has penetration right up to the rural India as well. And they had developed a very unique model by which they partnered with NGOs as well as local business people to build their last mile distribution. So that project was very successful in Uttar Pradesh, and then it was actually rolled out across the country. The third thing is that when you look at targeting the retail market, especially for rural India, you need to think of unique retail concepts and the way in which you will expand, right? So when I think about a company like Tanishq, right, jewelry, a very, very important aspect both in rural India and in urban India. The way that Titan, when they took Tanishq to the tier 2, tier 3 towns, they developed franchise model. They worked on regional designs, and they actually gave a unique experience right up to the marketing communication, which was catering to that particular segment. So to my mind, product innovation in distribution channels, and most importantly, understanding regional and local preferences is the right way to win in rural India.
Lovely, fantastic. Avani, you've seen the journey in the retail and FMCG right from the time you had at Starbucks India and then as a CEO of Nature's Basket. What is the message that you would like to give to people who are looking at investing in this sector in India or expand their existing business?
I think the message is really that you have to be, and this is nothing new, I think all of us as business people and entrepreneurs know, you have to make the customer the heartbeat, right? And in India, it is very, very important to really understand this if you're getting into specifically retail business, because it is complicated. And by complicated, I mean that if your backbone is not right, you really can't, you cannot develop or choose to run in this market.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Rao, single window clearance are a major breakthrough needed in all aspects of business, irrespective of the business size. What are your views on the same?
Well, single window clearance has been, I would say, that one of the very much appreciated move, both at the center as well as the state government. I have personally worked through, because Kennametal invested something like, for a company of 900 crores, 250 crore investment is something very big. We have gone through the single window clearances and we have good experience. Now, what way it works well is about, there is a nodal agency, a person is attached to us. It has to definitely go through, say, pollution control board in terms of the BESCOM or electricity and other departments. It has to go labor, but there is one person all the time. The resource person is available with us. So in terms of our attention to run to make some 20 applications, go behind many things, it is doing really a great job. The opportunity for improvement is about, sometimes we have experienced that single window we go through, then multiple doors have opened. It did delay. And that is where we had to raise the level. When we did the escalation, their officers were approachable right up to the ministry, and it was resolved. So my recommendation would be to look at if there is a possibility to put some kind of a timeline. And automatic escalation has to happen. And there has to be an analysis. Okay, it has crossed 60 days. It is 90 days. See, the very fact that we are sitting around this kind of a seminar today, we should go for online follow-up. Don't make the industry to come to the office. If somebody is coming, there has to be a discussion around that. So these kind of things, it has given us a lot of transparency and the supportive approach from the government. I really appreciate it.
Very well said, Mr. Rao. And with this, I would be concluding the session. Thank you very much, Avani and Mr. Rao. It's a wonderful interacting with you. And all the suggestions and the actionables that you have shared with us would be converted into an action paper and submitted to the concerned authorities. Thank you once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's here, not dormant, neither redundant. It's pulsating, inspiring new ideas in IT services and product development for healthcare, supply chain, banking, financial services, and insurance. Telecom, architecting tech evolution with artificial intelligence, big data, Internet of Things, blockchain. It's a future of transformative possibilities. A future we're carving at Futurism Technologies. Building your window to a new paradigm of digital transformation for the world, now and next. A window of smarter product lifecycle management to advance enterprise infrastructure with legacy integration. Create a digital roadmap for the new decade. Consult to realize products increasing productivity. Reduce time to market to increase ROI. A window perfected with our leadership in information technology, consulting, infrastructure and digital transformation with a global presence, a robust partner network, and a customer-focused quality approach. Backed with 18+ years of expertise in Internet of Things, artificial intelligence and machine learning, product development, blockchain, IT infrastructure, e-commerce. 6 pillars to think digital and carve the future of digital transformation that allows businesses to scale. Together, they have empowered our flexible delivery models, etching 18 years of industry transformation for 1,000+ diverse clients, making us the ground zero for technology solutions and services to address enterprise vision, faster and with smarter approaches. With 3 major certifications and a passionate and diverse team of consultants and technologists, solving problems, collaborating, and continuously learning, we're ready for transforming your world and its future. It's here, it's now. The future of digital transformation with Futurism Technologies.
Thank you, Saurabh, for the wonderful panel discussion with Avani, Davda, as well as Mr. B.C. Rao. That was a presentation on Futurism, which is a support partner. Unfortunately, sound was not there, but you can have a look at their website. We welcome a very, very honorable ministers, Honorable Minister Saurabh Patel ji, the very young and energetic Minister of Energy of the Gujarat government. And we have a very dynamic and, I would say, healthy Minister who's a champion, sports champion also, Honorable Vishwajit Rane ji, Minister of Industry and Health of Goa government. We start this second discussion after the first excellent, panel discussion where we had, how to make a good partnership with an MNC, which Avani mentioned how the Tata Starbucks partnership went so well. Then instead of competition, look at collaboration. Don't be afraid of the MNCs. Take help of the technology and be into partnership with them. Mr. Rao mentioned about the supply chain issues, reduce, recycle and reuse, and what Kennametal is seeing in India, the availability of talent, adaptability, culture, IT support, and what are the expectations is much more quality mindset we need in India, skill sets we need to enhance a bit, and the labor laws easing. And what I liked about Avani was the food, cricket, Bollywood. I think there's a three key things which we Indians like. And in the food sector, is going to explode. We need the right food technology with us. There's a unique, proposition. And we need product innovation. We need regional and rural markets, tremendous, huge markets we have. And make customer the, heartbeat. I think that was one coinage which I took from Avani, and the fantastic experience of Dr. B.C. Rao, Mr. B.C. Rao on the single window clearances and how they've helped him, help Kennametal in achieving this 250 crores of investment. As we get into the next session with the honorable ministers on this ease of doing business and what are the benefits and what are the ease of doing business in Gujarat and Goa. Before this, just let me give us brief, very, very brief snapshot of the ease of doing business in India. Friends, since the last 5 to 6 years, the Indian government has been given a major thrust to the ease of doing business and has worked very aggressively to ensure that India moves up on the rankings of ease of doing business. Our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi's campaigns, which include Make in India, are focused on attracting foreign investment, boosting the private sector, manufacturing in particular, and enhancing country's overall competitiveness. The leadership of India, whether it's at the central level or the state level, has adopted the World Bank's Doing Business Indicators as a core component of its reform strategies and to show global investors India's commitment to reform and to demonstrate tangible progress. The government's reform efforts are focused at the areas measured by doing business, like focus on paying taxes, trading across borders, and resolving insolvency. India has been continuously improving its ranking in the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business rankings, which has jumped from 139 in 2010 to 130 in 2016. Not very much, but from 2016 to 17, from 130 it has come to 100, which is a substantial improvement of 30 ranks. Then it has come to 77 in 2018, a further improvement of 33 ranks. And it has come to 63 in 2019, which is an improvement of 14 ranks for 2018. And all in all, it has improved 67 ranks in last 3 to 4 years amongst 190 countries. Given the size and complexity of our country, these reforms are tremendously commendable, fantastically commendable. India is amongst the top 10 improvers worldwide and has demonstrated impressive reform agendas. The government has taken carefully designed approach to reform, aiming to improve the business regulatory environment and streamlining business processes. As mentioned earlier, the country has made a very substantial leap in the doing business in India from 139 to 63 in 2019, 139 in 2010, 63 in 2019. A substantially improving ranking for an economy implies that its investment climate is becoming more favorable to foreign investors. Investment climate in India has improved tremendously in the past few years. The FDI inflows were 45 billion in 2014-15, increased to 56 billion in 2015-16, 60 billion in $60 billion in 2016-17, $61 billion in 17-18, and 62 billion in 2018-19. In the 19 and a half years, April 2000 to September 19, we received 642 billion of foreign direct investments, of which in the last 5.5 years itself, from April 2014 to September 2019, we received 319 billion FDI, which is almost 50% of the total 19 and a half years. And if this was not enough, the very recent investment of Facebook in the Reliance Jio platform of 6.23 billion. And in the last 3 months, the fact that only one company, Reliance Jio platform, has raised $16 billion, almost $16 billion, 1,20,000 crore, almost giving 25% of its capital, is unheard of. And we have seen Amazon India committing $1 billion, MasterCard committing $1 billion in January 2020. We have seen the French oil and gas giant Total acquiring 37.5% in the stake in Avani Gas Limited for almost 810 billion. All this is also largely attributable to the ease in the FDI norms across sectors of the economy and improvements of ease of doing business. The recent government initiatives of ease in FDI, friends, first of all, let me tell you, that barring very, very few sectors, almost 100% FDI is possible in almost all the sectors in India. In May 2020, the government increased the FDI limits in defense manufacturing to 74% from 49%. In December 19, it permitted 26% FDI in digital media sectors. We have 100% FDI in coal mining. We have 100% FDI in insurance intermediaries. There has been tremendous liberalization of the ECB, external commercial borrowing regulations also. What have been the path-breaking reforms which has led to this improvement of the ease of doing business? The first one and foremost which is coming to my mind is the GST, which is in paying taxes. India has made paying taxes easier by replacing many indirect taxes with a single indirect tax, that is a GST, for the entire country. Introduction of good and service tax has subsumed almost more than 11 to 12 indirect taxes, and not only that, it has digitalized, rationalized, and simplified the processes and returns. And this has been a very, very path-breaking reform. Yes, there have been some hiccups in the technology as well as in some planning, but I'm sure this will be a good learning out of this particular implementation going forward. On the income tax front, there has been huge reduction of taxation for corporates. There has been tax reduction for FDI investors and also for the sovereign wealth funds who are willing to place long-term bets on the economy. The abolition of the dividend distribution tax was a major disincentive to foreign companies seeking to set up operations in India. The whole country, at the central level and at the state level, there has been a huge digitalizing and rationalizing of systems and processes. If you want to form a company, there's a single form which is available for forming a company in LLP, which has integrated multiple application forms into one form, and the processing has been centralized and made speedier. The income tax registration, the GST registrations, all have been made very fast. There's an instant issuance of PAN by furnishing Aadhaar, pre-filling of tax returns, faceless appeals and assessments. So a lot of improvements on the technology front. The steps such as removal of tedious procedures, curtailment of transmission loss of electricity, availability of online applications and online approval systems, among others, have created a transparent working environment and thus raised the confidence of people and firms. This has resulted in the improvement of various parameters of ease of doing business, such as getting electricity, starting a business, construction permits, among others. Though many changes have been made and life made simpler for majority through use of technology, the matters where things are still not done on technology platforms, the accountability of the authorities need to be enhanced to make it more user-friendly. There is need of a single registration database which can be used for different government applications and laws. On the import-export front, that is the trading across borders, there has been tremendous improvement in the electronic submission and processing of documents for the export-imports, strengthened infrastructure for exports, enhanced customs administration and inspection for imports and exports. India has made trading across borders easier by enabling post-clearance audits, integrating trade stakeholders in a single electronic platform, upgrading port infrastructure, and enhancing the electronic submission of documents. The above initiatives have improved the efficiency of cross-border trade, reducing border and documentary compliance time for both exports and imports. As far as construction permits are concerned, the two major metros, Delhi has a single window clearance system. Mumbai has an online building permit approval system, which has reduced the time and the cost for obtaining construction permits. And I'm sure other states and cities are following. Another path-breaking reform has the insolvency in the bankruptcy code, which helps in resolving insolvency. And in India, it is said you can start a company, but a company cannot die, a company cannot be liquidated. But that is changing with the insolvency law. We have seen fantastic resolutions. We have seen the SR Steel resolution of 44,000 crore, Bhushan Steel, and name it, and then it's going on and on. Huge resolutions happening. So that has been a major change through the insolvency and the bankruptcy code. This has also strengthened the access to credit, as secured creditors are now given priority or other claims with insolvency proceedings. The labor market regulation also we have seen recently, many states relaxing the labor laws. Mr. Rao mentioned we need the labor laws to be relaxed, and I think that is on the cards right now. That's the next major reforms, if I would say, which is awaiting. The electricity availability across the country has improved substantially. Under the Make in India initiative, the state governments are executing the respective annual business reform action plan. It's called BRAP, to improve the rankings on the ease of doing business, which reflect their willingness to reform and attract investments. It might be noted that the states which have performed well on the business reform action plan have observed very high growth of the gross state domestic product, GSDP, and some have witnessed very high industry growth. Since the rankings are of the country as a whole and the 36 states and union territories, which are at different levels of the business reform action plan, and we don't have comparable rankings of the states on the ease of doing business ranking, I can easily say that though India's overall ranking may be 63 in the world rankings, but some states like Gujarat, Maharashtra, Telangana, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, if we have got a comparable ranking, I believe they may be in the top 30 ease of doing business on a comparable note with other countries. These steps show that India's policies are moving in the right direction, and with the continuity of focus on improving the regulatory environment and streamlining regulatory processes, it will further improve India's ease of doing business ranking in the coming years. Friends, we have miles to go before we can say that we are the best in the ease of doing business. We need our laws to be better drafted, more stabler, with changes being made less frequently, need more digitization of government, example in the land records, stamp duty, and other departments of the government. Also, the judiciary, which is overloaded with huge number of pendency of cases, needs the focus of the authorities on how to declutter the pendencies. To make India as the most sought after investment destination, our target should be to be the top 10 nations in the ease of doing business in the next few years. Not only on paper, but in spirit. And which would be possible if I believe the central and the state government change their approach towards business from being a regulator to being a facilitator. Friends, I am a strong believer that government has to be business friendly and has to be a facilitator of the businesses. With this, I hand it over back to Saurabh to introduce our very, very honorable ministers and then take the program further. Thank you. Saurabh, it's yours.
Thank you, Mr. Nilesh Vikamsey. Namaste, greetings, Honorable Minister Shri Saurabhbhai Patel and Honorable Minister Shri Vishwajit Rane. It is indeed my honor and privilege to moderate this session. Before we proceed further, I have the pleasant task and indeed a privilege to give a brief introduction to our August gathering and our participants. I will start with the brief introduction of our Honorable Minister, Shri Saurabhbhai Patel, who is a Cabinet Minister, Government of Gujarat, and holds a portfolio of energy. By training, he is MBA from United States of America, member of Gujarat Legislative Assembly since 1998 till date. He has worked as Minister in charge of energy and petrochemicals, mines and minerals, cottage industry, salt industries, planning, tourism, civil aviation, labor and employment. And friends, during his tenure, these ministries have shown a splendid performance. Very quickly, to share some of his remarkable achievements in energy and petrochemical department, he successfully launched Jyoti Gram Yojana, a scheme of the government of Gujarat, which provided 24 hours continuous three-phase quality power to all 18,065 villages. In industries and mines department, Vibrant Gujarat Global Investor Summit 2009 was organized under his leadership successfully, wherein 3,346 MOUs were signed, covering an investment of rupees 12.34 lakh crores and with 25 lakh employment potential. In the field of finance department, state's gross domestic product has increased under his leadership gradually, and in the year 2001, gross domestic product was 1,11,139 crores, which has increased up to rupees 3,37,217 crores in the year 2008-2009. Sir, indeed an honor and privilege to have you with us this evening. Now I have the privilege of introducing Honorable Minister Shri Vishwajit Rane. He is a Cabinet Minister, Government of Goa, and holds portfolio of health. In the past, he has held important portfolios such as craftsman training and agriculture. He has been member of the Legislative Assembly of the state of Goa for several years, and he has also been the ex-chairman of the Goa Tourism and Development Corporation. Sir, a very warm welcome to you, and we look forward to hear more from you, sir, in terms of how Goa is scaling up in providing the advantage factor and the ease of doing business for the potential investments looking at Goa. Having said this, I understand Honorable Minister would like to make a presentation, and thereafter, may I start the panel discussion? No.
Saurabh, I think first let Saurabhbhai Patel speak, then Mr. Rane will speak, and then they can have the presentation.
All right, sure. So, yeah, over to Shri Saurabhbhai Patel, sir.
Namaskar. Good evening to everybody. It's good to be with you people, especially when a lot of US friends are listening. Today, India and USA, they are global strategic partners. And what we look at in India, what we look at in Gujarat, is to build up this relationship between the state of Gujarat and the companies of US. Now, especially after the visit of His Excellency the President of the United States, Mr. Trump, came down. In fact, he was the first US president to come down to the state of Gujarat. And this has given us an additional responsibility. The responsibility of building up the relationship more stronger between the state of Gujarat and the US. Our Honorable Chief Minister, Shri Vijay Rupani, also meets a lot of dignitaries from US, a lot of governors who come down over here, and a lot of MOUs also signed between different states and government of Gujarat. As you all know, Gujarat is one of the most industrial states of the country, And today, there might be hardly any state in the country, I would say, who has a double-digit growth rate since more than 12 years, continuous. And I think that is because of the good policies of the state government. Today, we contribute 8% to India's GDP, and 17% of the industrial output of India is from the state of Gujarat. Exports also, we contribute a huge amount, and the manufacturing sector is the key for our growth. And 37% of the GDP is of the manufacturing. This is just a background which I am sharing with you, which most of you are knowing. And I will give you some of the reasons why you should invest in Gujarat. And especially now, when we talk about Advantage India in the other session, so I feel the Advantage India is there, Advantage Gujarat is also there. The first reason is the confidence of US investors in the state of Gujarat. See, confidence is not easy to achieve. It's over a period of time, years. So if you look at every decade, the 90s or the 2001 decade or 2010, there are new and new companies, starting from DuPont or Coca-Cola or PepsiCo, Oracle, Citigroup, Bank of America, Honeywell, Colgate, Ford. All the top companies of the US have invested and also investing in the state of Gujarat. So it's something like a magnet. If one company comes in, others follow, because when they know that the investment is safe in this state and they are making money, naturally new and new investments is going to come up. So one point is the confidence the US industries has. The recent trends also show that Bank of America opened its global business center in Gandhinagar, Gift City. And this will bring in a huge investment in the financial sector in the state. The second point which I would like to highlight is the ecosystem. And ecosystem has been developed over a period of time. A lot of money has been spent in the infrastructure. See, today there might be, I don't think of any other states who are having a gas grid practically connecting all the districts of the state. Today, natural gas flows at least to 20% of the households in the state. And this one gas grid, I think no other state has this facilities, which is clear fuel and which is a big attraction as far as clean fuel is concerned, the state of Gujarat. Then power supply state is there. Today, the ports, 40% of India's cargo goes through the ports of Gujarat. We have 19 airports and land bank. 33,000 hectares of land bank is being ready. So this is also one of the reasons why people can easily jump in. So the ecosystem in the state is also pretty good. Third is a proactive, stable government. Everyone requires a stable government. Everyone requires a stability. Today, the same government of Bharatiya Janata Party is there since 95. So the policies of our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi laid the foundation, and the growth model of Gujarat is being continued by the respective chief ministers. So there is no change in policies as such. They try to add on things, but they don't go back. The labor laws, we are making it more and more flexible. Today we are exempting practically all new companies for 1,200 days from all the labor laws. The MSME Act 2019, we exempt all MSMEs from obtaining any approval for a period of 3 years. I think this is something never heard of before. We have a lot of investor facility centers, the ease of doing business, which gives 15 departments in one platform. And a lot of applications have been processed also. We have a dedicated nodal officer where every new investor has been given one officer who looks after all their issues. The land bank, which I mentioned, is available on GIS-based system. We have a water management today, which will be the first state, I would say, who have floated tenders and given orders for desalination plants all along the coastline, looking after 5 years and 7 years or 10 years, what the water issues are going to be in the state. So that is how we go ahead. And this has all been done by private players. Labor, most peaceful state, no strikes since many, many years. We never heard, we never seen any red flags. And finally, when the center has decided to reduce from 25% to 15% the corporate tax and have to start the operations by 31st March 2023, I think we have done a lot of things for ease of doing business to see that the speed is there. Another issue is sectoral leadership. Whatever we do, we try to be number one. We went for an automobile hub, fastest automobile hub we've created in the state of Gujarat. Pharma, medical devices, we are practically number one. Chemical, petrochemicals, we are number one. Gems and jewelry, number one. Textiles, garments, sanitary ceramics. Today, you just look at it, the sanitary and ceramic market in India might not be that good. But our entrepreneurs have started looking out for new markets in US. Because today, a lot of people have stopped buying products from other countries. So our entrepreneurs have taken advantage of the situation and started exporting in other countries. And today, in spite of this, I can say the ceramic industry is running 80% of the capacity, in spite of the fact that the construction activities are slightly low. Our targets in the future, emerging sectors which are looking out for defense and aerospace, renewable energy, electronics. This is thing which we will highlight it a lot in the future. Today, as I mentioned, we are a policy-driven state. We not only have an industrial policy, but we have a sector-specific policy. We have an electronic policy, textile policy, garment and apparel policy separate from the textile policy, aerospace and defense policy, biotechnology, plastic policy we have. We have total 20 policies. Today, many of the policies, the period is over. We'll be coming out with new policies very shortly in the span of 15 days, where not only we are going to give fiscal incentives, but other benefits also. So in GST regime, you don't have much benefits because the taxes are passed through. Whichever the consuming state gets the benefit of the taxation. In spite of this, to promote investments, what we are doing is we are going to have a new policy for especially for manufacturing sector in a span of next 10 to 15 days. We have built up a lot of infrastructure. Say today, DMIC and DFC, 36% of this passes through the state of Gujarat. And this is going to give a lot of advantage to the state. Gift City, everyone, we have spent a huge amount in Gift City. A lot of money has been spent in infrastructure. This is going to be this is the only financial hub in the country. And today, there are so many companies who are coming out over here. And as soon as more and more laws are becoming liberal by RBI, SEBI, and everyone, I think the investments in Gift City is going to increase. The first bullet train is between India and Ahmedabad and Mumbai. So that is also one of the big things over here. Green City. See, usually all the exports are done through Bombay. We make 85% of the polished diamonds and everything, but many of it goes through Bombay. So we're building up a dream city, especially in Surat, which is and getting a special approval for all exports. So this is going to help us a lot as far as Surat is concerned. Dollar SIR, if you look at more than 4,000 crores is being spent today only on building up the infrastructure. And no units are not yet will come in, but we believe that if you build up infrastructure, everything will follow. Mandal Bichraji, we started with Maruti, and today it's one of the biggest auto hubs in the country. Greenfield ports, today 40% of the cargo I mentioned goes through the ports of Gujarat. We have the best minor port policy and so many ports, but still new ports in Nargol, Chhara, Jafrabad, and the first Bhavnagar LNG terminal is coming up. Today, not only that, we have Hazira LNG terminal in Mundra. There are only state was about 3 terminals active, and I would say 85 or 90% of the natural gas flows through the state of Gujarat. And unconventional energy is the last thing right now. Today, 25,000 megawatts at one location, nowhere in the country or maybe not in the world. Is already land has been identified, all permissions taken, companies identified, and in a span of 5 to 7 or maybe maximum 10 years, 25,000 megawatts of solar and wind will be generated from one place in Run of Kutch. So that is the importance which we are giving to unconventional energy also. So as mentioned that a lot of reforms have been taken, a lot of infrastructure has been given by our state, and we have a very dynamic policy in everything, very liberal. So we expect that in this age of Make in India, Gujarat is going to have the biggest FDI, especially from the country of US. New and new investments will come to the state of Gujarat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Shri Saurabhbhai Patelji. Before I invite Shri Vishwajit Rane, I just wanted to mention that currently the Honorable Minister is also holding the portfolio of Industries, Trade and Commerce and Women and Child Development in addition to the Health portfolio. There will be a short video which will be now played.
Goa, called the Pearl of the Orient, is often described as a fusion between Eastern and Western culture. Goa is located in the western region of India. Arabian Sea to the west, Maharashtra to the north, and Karnataka to the south and the east. It is one of the fastest growing states in the country. Goa has a coastline of about 104 kilometers and inland waterways of about 250 kilometers. It has a strong presence in mining, tourism, and pharmaceutical sectors. Goa is the most urbanized state in India, with one of the highest per capita income ratios. It has the highest GDP among all Indian states. At current prices, Goa's gross state domestic product was $11 billion approximately in 2019-20 at a compound annual growth rate of 9.08%. Goa has achieved these distinctions not only on the back of tourism, but it is also the fourth largest pharma hub in the country, with industries like Unichem and Sanofi adding to a total export value of approximately $2 million. The land away from the coast is rich in minerals, also making mining the second largest industry in the state. Goa became a major hub for exporting raw materials, accounting for 55% of the country's iron ore exports. Goan iron ore is exported to China, Japan, Taiwan, South Korea, and East European countries. Goa takes great pride in the port of Marmagoa, a major modern thriving port, which is also the highest exporter of iron ore in the country. It provides an excellent sea route for movement of goods. The Marmagoa port handled 26.9 million tons of cargo in 2018. Infrastructure-wise, Goa has an advantage over other exporting regions in the country, in view of it being endowed with a deep seaport and waterways that crisscross the territory, facilitating barge transport. Goa provides amongst the most economical power and water tariff rates in the country, some of the best infrastructure, a highly educated workforce, and great health facilities to attract investors. It is the second state to have a 100% automatic telephone system with a solid network of telephone exchanges. Goa has also emerged as a manufacturing base for several leading companies in IT, renewable sources, and shipbuilding. It has about 23 industrial estates established by Goa Industrial Development Corporation. Goa is an ideal destination for medical tourism, owing to its inherent healthy and clean natural ecosystem, attractive policy incentives, along with excellent air, rail, and road connectivity. Goa is a talent hotspot and is home to IIT, BITS, and gyms, distilling an innovation culture in the education system. It has an upcoming Indian Institute of Technology Center and one of the oldest pharmacy colleges in the country. The Konkan Railways connect Goa to all major commercial hubs like Mumbai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, and Pune through air, rail, road, and sea. The international airport ensures connectivity to any part of the country in less than 4 hours. Its cosmopolitan culture, impressive infrastructure, quality manpower, picturesque landscape, clean environment, and capacity to innovate makes Goa an ideal base for medical tourism and research streams. By the time you arrive and settle in Goa, a whole lot of new but clean entertainment ideas will have materialized. And while you put your capital to productive use, remember, you will be setting up your industry in a beautiful environment in one of the most exciting new destinations of the world. In Goa, the towns meet the countryside in harmony. Rivers run alongside roads. Industrial estates are less than 30 kilometers from the seaside. Goa 2021, where innovation meets quality of life. A state tailor-made for encouraging non-polluting and environment-friendly industries.
So we are not able to hear you.
Saurabhji, can I start?
Yes, please, sir. Over to you, sir. Please.
I would like to wish our senior leader, Shri Saurabh Patelji, Honorable Minister for Power, Government of Gujarat, Saurabh Shah ji, Nilesh ji, Jagdip ji, and I think we had a small presentation that we put up by our Secretary Industries, Madam Neela Mohanan. And I also would like to mention is after hearing, we were hearing Honorable Minister Gujarat for Power, Saurabhji, was speaking on all what Gujarat has been doing. Actually, we have also been learning a lot from the state of Gujarat and the best practices what Gujarat has been doing. Goa is a very small state. Goa is a very small state, and actually, just like Saurabh Patelji said, that stability of the government is something that is very important in order to take forward your vision and policies forward. And like in Gujarat, right from the time Narendra Modi ji was the Chief Minister of Gujarat, and the best practices, that's what we were just discussing, and we keep on discussing on how best we can utilize the practices that have been adopted in that state, just like what Saurabh Patel ji mentioned about sector specific policies, and how does one move forward. As far as Goa is concerned, Goa, we are trying to bring in on the area of ease of doing business, trying to attract investment, and trying to see what best we can do in terms of attracting investors to the state, into the state of Goa, and specifically in the areas that have not been explored as yet. As you are aware that Goa was one of the largest exporters of iron ore, but due to certain legal issues, I think now once again we are coming back on track slowly. Once again, we think the iron ore sector will once again be stabilized. In addition, tourism, all of us know that it was one of the topmost tourist destinations in the country and one of the largest revenue earners for the state of Goa. And unfortunately, now due to COVID, we are all facing a tremendous situation here in terms of getting people into the state, which we all know that one has to look at the situation a little differently. But as far as Goa is concerned, I would like to assure the delegates that we are a small state trying to put a lot of things into place and also trying to see that the area of ease of doing business, we want to see that we have different types of innovative policies. And like I said, that taking and adopting the best practices like states like Gujarat, we are trying to bring in policies that will actually encourage investors to come into the state of Goa. One is having industrial land that is available. Being a small state, land is a very scarce commodity. But same time, we are also mapping revenue land that is available with the state of Goa, which can be put to good use. Actually, that is how I think a state needs to progress, and also a red carpet treatment to people who come into the state of Goa. Many times we feel, on a document we find there is a lot of promises that are made to the investors and trying to showcase what the state can do. But in the true sense, many times people who want to invest and take projects forward, like just now Saurabh Patel ji mentioned that in case of the MSME sector, for 3 years they don't have to take any permission and they can move on, and a lot of support given to the MSME sector. I think that is the way forward, and that's what we are trying to do. As far as the skill gap analysis in Goa is done, that we are trying now to combine ourselves with various multinationals. Goa is the fourth largest pharma hub in the country. We are trying to build up on the industries that already exist in the state of Goa. We are trying to see how best we can support the MSMEs by providing the skilling in the true sense, so that we are able to encourage the MSMEs to grow and also to stabilize. And even in today's situation, as we speak, I also happen to hold the portfolio of skilling and entrepreneurship. So basically, we are trying to tie up with various type of organizations like IT and Polytechnic Singapore, or talking to Temasek, so that we are able to give them international certification for the students who have already completed the ITI, upskilling of their knowledge, so as to basically see that the industry gets the right type of personnel within the state of Goa. That is something that industry has been talking to us, and that is something that we want to take forward. We have got some large companies like Siemens and many other companies in the state of Goa who actually want to partner with the ITIs, so that they are able to create a workforce for themselves and utilize these people for their own consumption. Similarly, introducing of new type of innovative courses in the pharma sector. And also the government of Goa recently has passed the private universities bill, so that itself will create a type of synergy which Goa requires. Actually, when we are here, we have had a stable government for a long period of time under the Bharatiya Janata Party. And here in Goa, when you talk about synergy, when a person looks at a state, he wants to see what all is going to come into that state, what is there, what type of manpower is there. So one has to plan for about 10-15 years on from now on. And that is how the state has been progressing as far as policy is concerned. We have we have taken several consultants and several experts and many members also of the Prime Minister's Economic Affairs team, Shri Narendra Modi's team, who are advising us indirectly and directly on how the state should start thinking and how the state should take forward the vision of a very transparent kind of a government with transparent policies. And I think that's what we want to do. We want, just like Saurabh Patel ji said, I would like to mention what he mentioned is that every area of land that is available is already available online, and you can see what is available. And same time, what we are trying to do here is evaluation. And immediately, if a person wants a piece of land, a person wants to put up an industry, and similarly, we need to see that we are very progressive, we are innovative in our thinking, so that the person doesn't waste time in only getting permissions, but instead we have a different kind of policy that encourages people to come in, and without wasting much time, he is able to start operations within the state of Goa. As far as Goa is concerned, there are several unexplored areas, such as in the health sector. We are also been talking to Piyush Goyal ji and Sadanand Gowda ji for a medical device park and several other things. So these are the new areas which we need to look at. Actually, when we talk about investment, when we talk about policy, I feel a lot of tweaking needs to be done in the view of the COVID-19 situation now, because there's a new thinking that is coming forward on the way forward. And as far as the policies that need to be brought forward, what are the type of areas that would be of interest to people? Healthcare sector suddenly has taken a lot of prominence in the globally, and how best we can put these in the situation of COVID-19, and what is the type of opportunities that are available during the situation of COVID-19. So that's the way we think that the state government must integrate policy and take things forward. We have an investment promotion board in the state under the chief minister, and where I happen to be the vice chairman of the investment promotion board. Our secretary industry, Madam Neela Mohanan, also, who has been playing a very dominant and proactive role in terms of taking things forward. So we are now bringing in a lot of amendments to see that it is industry friendly, and certain permissions which don't come from certain departments, then it should be considered as deemed given to the particular company or agency. So the ease of doing business is something which a lot of stress is being given by the government, and I feel that is the way forward. As far as healthcare sector is concerned, we feel that medical tourism is one of the areas which has not been tapped to the full potential in Goa. As you are aware, there's a lot of potential, not only in the US, but in many other states, like in Australia, where assisted living is something where people are looking for destinations. So elderly people and elderly care is given that type of weightage attached to hospitals. So public-private partnership in the area of healthcare. We are one of the states which have got the finest healthcare facilities and in the country. And I'm not comparing it with any other state, but I'm saying that as far as we are concerned, we have been doing a lot of things as far as the healthcare sector is concerned. Hence, medical tourism is something that we are trying to promote. Medical device park is something that we are very much interested. I've been talking to Piyush Goyalji on a regular basis to see how best synergy could be created between all the four portfolios that I hold in the state of Goa. Industry is something that is the very important vertical. In today's time, we need to see that we go one step forward to handle the industry in the times of COVID. There are a lot of industries that are talking about not only about expansion, but other industries that could complement. Suppose the pharma sector, then what is it that can complement the pharma sector? So those are the type of industries, those are the type of parks that we are looking at. And innovatively, one needs to see what one has in one's area and what one can do in order to allow them to grow in that particular fashion. So this is all what we have been doing, getting in. When luckily with the help of Shri Narendra Modi ji and his blessings, Goa is also going to get a new IIT, which the foundation is going to be laid in the next couple of months. So basically, we have got the education sector, skilling areas, which we are trying to tie up with educational institutions, like I just mentioned, like Temasek IT, Singapore. And this is the way we think where we can do, we can do great service to industry by providing them quality and upskilled labor that is required in today's time in the era of innovation. Those are the type of courses that we are promoting in the state of Goa and very closely working with the industry. Saurabh Shah ji, I would like to also mention that Goa is the only state where, in order to drive policy, we have created a task force with the western region of CII. And that is a task force that drives the government to make the type of industry-friendly policy. And we have roundtables every quarter. And if required, we have it more frequently because we want to ensure that the industry's issues are addressed from time to time. And CII itself is now the driver as far as the Goa state is concerned. That is one of the only notified task force that we have in order to help us make policy, bring in investors, and so that investment that is brought into the state of Goa or it is evaluated by the CII. These are the type of projects that we want to take forward, and so that we have a wider spectrum of people giving expert opinion and advice, and people from the business and people from the industry who are in a position to advise the government that this is the way, this is where you need to correct course, and this is the way you need to move forward. So this is how we, in a very transparent manner, we want to take things forward. Narendra Modi ji has always stressed on the couple of points is transparency, which is required, and land allotment many times becomes a very sticky issue. That's why we thought that members of CII should be represented, whether it is the investment promotion board, whether it is our industrial development corporation, or whether it is policy making. We thought that CII will be a better. We have the Goa State Industries Association also, but I thought a wider spectrum and with more representation, we took the task force and gave them more responsibility to help us drive the industrial policy forward. And single window system in the true sense. Many times there are states which talk about single window system, but it actually is not a single window system. So basically having the CII not only give us policy, but we have a very proactive Secretary Industries, and we have a very proactive group of officers under her, and our team where we are trying to see that industry in the true sense is actually investment comes into the state of Goa, and we live up to the expectations of the people when we assure something on paper or we document something and say this is the way we want to move forward. And also I would like to mention is that we are also trying to come up with a very interesting entrepreneurship policy, so that we are able to, in a true sense, help the ecosystem of startups. As far as Goa is concerned, we are not only using various facilities of startups in the true sense, but during COVID, all the startup companies are the ones that we took help of in whether we want to test a app or we want to have the chat bot. We were one of the few first states to have all these in place. And this is how we moved forward in handling COVID-19. We also have companies that have tied up with us through MOUs and which are being supported through CSR, where we thought that, in these other people, like whether it is taking breast cancer screening to the doorstep of the people, whether cervical cancer testing to the doorstep of the people. This is the companies that needed that type of a push. So where the state government of Goa stepped in, and we thought that this is a manner in which we can create a right ecosystem and right type of synergy that is required in actually when we talk of startups. I, for one, believe that many times startups are unable to get themselves on the GEM portal. And as a result of which, many times in the state government, as far as the policies are concerned, it becomes very difficult actually, because when you have a single or a proprietary item on board. So we have been doing several initiatives. We have been actually tying up with several institutions, including institutions like Siemens, that have backed us in a very big way in e-learning for Anganwadis and e-learning, since WCD, Women and Child Department, is with me. Then I similarly, we have also tried to use, just like I mentioned, the breast cancer screening companies and all these type of startups which are being brought on the basically on a platform. And this is the way we want to create a different type of synergy as far as Goa is concerned. We are also in the final phase of tying up with Yale University, with Yale University, and tying up with the Yale Institute of Global Health, so that we are able to exchange faculty, have different type of faculty exchange program, areas of research, and various other initiatives between us. We are also in the final phase of tying up with the University of Miami. So basically tying up and looking for new partners that can help us enhance our quality of education in the state of Goa, whether it is medical education, whether it is engineering, or whether it is any other type of institution that can be put up in a collaboration here in the state of Goa. So basically, looking at it in a very wider spectrum, we have been trying to interact with industry. We have been trying to interact with institutions, so that we have a different vision. And this vision of, and also tying up with these type of universities gives us a different outlook to dealing with a situation, or to have a different type of a medical tourism. When I mentioned medical tourism, a different type of a setup for that. So basically, we thought we should move forward in this particular manner. So as far as Goa is concerned, like we have mentioned already during the presentation, that we offer one of the finest, one of the lowest rates as far as electricity and tariff and water is concerned. Land is scarce, but yet, like I was interacting with our team, is that we are trying to pull in the revenue land that is available, because here we have a lot of land under revenue. So basically, this can become another land bank that can be used by industries, and basically attract industries in the true sense, and have a wider spectrum of thinking and different types of policies. Like Saurabh Patel ji mentioned, sector-specific policies. It is very important to have that, because when you have that, and like he mentioned, in today's time, they are also coming out with a different type of policy now over a period of years, after using the policies which have benefited Gujarat in a very big way, where Gujarat has done extremely well. It's like an example for all of us, especially small states like us. We look at such states to frame policies and bring in the best practices. So I think that is the way we want to drive Goa, and taking the industry together and forward along with us.
Very well.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Minister. Can I now, you have a presentation to make also? Is there a presentation?
I would like our Secretary Industries, Madam Neela Mohan, will make a small presentation.
Excuse me, I have to leave. So if there are any questions, I just want to leave.
Then can I first take up the question
Yes.
with Shri Saurabhbhai, please? Honorable Minister, we understand that in the state budget of 2019-20, $2.57 billion was allocated to the energy industry and mineral as one of the initiatives by the Gujarat government to promote Gujarat as the investment destination. Could you, sir, please highlight the steps taken by the government in this sector to promote investment? Over to you, sir.
So if you look at it, starting from April, the revenues of all the state governments have fallen. In spite of practically GST income being very less in 2 months, electricity, in fact, all types of income are practically not there. Still, our Chief Minister decided not to have any cuts in the budget. So that is the first thing. We'll get the money from wherever we have to. We have a good balance sheet, so we'll be able to borrow at a much cheaper rate also. So all our infrastructure projects, whether it is roads, whether it is drinking or water pipelines, or even in the energy sector, new power projects, transmission network, gas grids, everything, including all the incentives which we are giving. So every capital expenditure which had been planned in the budget, we are going to go ahead and do it. A special emphasis is going to be given on renewable energy. So renewable energy is going to be a major thrust as far as energy is concerned in the years to come.
Right. Sir, also, we understand that the state ranks first in terms of total areas covered under SEZ in India. However, around 46% of 14,197 hectares of land allotted for various SEZ in Gujarat has been lying vacant, and it is proposed to be used for solar power generation. The participants would like to...
It all depends upon which area and which location it is, because see, there's some SEZs are very good lands. Say, for example, Dholera SIR, we are using land which we are not going to use for industry for solar. So 5,000 megawatts of solar renewables have been planned in Dholera SIR. Tenders have also come in. Tenders also be giving to parties, and over a period of 3 to 4 years, I'm sure this 5,000 megawatts in the SIR will come up. But there are certain SEZs which have been given for special purposes. So it all depends on the industry department, the energy department, and the quality of land. So I think it will depend from SEZ to SEZ and the special permission for what it has been given.
Okay. So major initiatives and policy changes and a slew of reforms have put India on the global industrial map as one of the fastest growing economies. Are there any new MOUs signed with any international organizations and the state government? If you can throw some light, it would be very encouraging for the viewers and for the participants who are looking at opportunities in the state.
See, today, maximum IAMs in the country are signed by the state of Gujarat. And what we believe is that we should spend more money on infrastructure, everything will follow. Build up good policies, everything will follow. We do ease of doing business, everything will follow. So unless all the MOUs are not converted into industries or into concrete projects, I think it's not fair enough for me to divulge it.
I understand, sir. So we have one question from the participant. His name is Mr. Arun Mundra. He's a certified PMP from Houston, USA, and partner of Ecoviz and Global Business Singh. Being with the background of electrical engineering before switching to IT management, having industry experience, so his question is that what is the plan to reduce the operation maintenance expenses for energy generation? Being in management consulting and having improved the maintenance process efficiency, say for Welspun 40% to 85%, DuPont 52% to 87%, rated by clients on world-class ranking. I'm looking forward to help to improve maintenance of process for energy sector in the state of Gujarat.
It's a good suggestion and I'm most welcome. I would request him to send me all the details and I'll put him directly with our technical people. And if it can be a win-win situation, then he's most welcome. Today, see what we have done in the energy sector basically, we have stopped except renewables. We have stopped putting money as far as generation capacities are concerned. Because the act is so clear that you can have private people. Only thing what we have to do is sign power purchase agreements for a long period of time and honor them. And if you honor them, pay them on time, which we do. We practically pay every PPA signed within 7 days from the date of his selling power to us and take the discounts also along with it. So that is how our system works. So we are getting the cheapest power available from the tenders. So why should we put in capital when it's available in the market? But we have our old plants, and these old plants positively, if his ideas and thoughts are good and be helpful to us, we'll positively go ahead.
Right. Thank you. Sir, one last question before you leave us for today evening, sir. Gujarat has one more feather in its cap. It has ranked #1 in logistics in the country according to the National Logistics Index of 2019. What are the key steps, sir, taken by the government to accomplish this, and what further steps government is planning to take to sustain this top ranking?
See, in 2018, the state government had decided to prepare an integrated logistic policy document. This is very important. What we look at is the last mile connectivity. If the last mile connectivity is perfect, everything goes fine. The consumer, the manufacturer, everyone has to benefit. And if logistics is good, everyone wins. So what we have decided is that connecting logistic parks, ports, multi-model logistic hubs, and how to benefit for the farmers. Private sector investments also coming in a huge way as far as our logistics development is concerned. And finally, the cold chain for the agriculture sector. We are putting a lot of money in this thing because it will help in realization, better income to the farmers, which will help the rural areas, and which the purchasing power of an individual, if it increases in the rural area, there will be an economic growth, and it will be an all-round growth. So these are the sectors, and we have decided that when DFC comes in, the ports and everything are over here in a big way. 40% of the cargo is from those new ports also coming. So the last mile connectivity, if you spend money on the roads, investments will automatically flow in the state of.
Very well. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. It is indeed an honor and privilege to have you with us this evening.
And sorry, Mr. Rane, I have to leave because I have to go out. Otherwise, I would have enjoyed your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Saurabhbhai.
Got a good team of ministers there.
Yes, they do.
Yes. Mr. Rane, if yeah, please, you can make the presentation, please. Over to you, sir.
Yes, you please.
Yeah, no, madam.
Actually, most of the points in the presentation have already been covered by the Honorable Minister. So we feel that it may be better to move straight into the questions.
Oh, sure. And of course, you can share the presentation with us. We'll be happy to circulate amongst our members for more detailed information. Right.
Sure, we'll do that. Thanks.
Right. We have a couple of questions for Honorable Minister. To start with, due to the current geopolitical situation, there's a lot of talk about industry shifting to India, sir. Given that we have several international attendees today who are part of this webinar, what would you say makes Goa competitive with other Indian states? And what are the advantages that Goa offers? I know you have already dealt with this, but if you would like to just highlight and focus on some important aspects, sir, over to you.
No, basically what I mentioned generally in the brief talk, which I was having Saurabhji in the initially, one is our location as far as Goa is concerned. Though Goa is a small state, logistically we are very well placed, and also what I was just mentioning about a couple of things, like in terms of the stable and quality of power that Goa offers, in terms of the tariff of power and also water, which becomes very important in terms of industries, in terms of manufacturing and costing. And in addition to that, what I was just trying to say that as far as Goa is concerned, we are one of the states which we are concentrating on the finer things. And the finer things is trying to bring out policies and to bring out the right and best practices of ease of doing business. Everybody has been stressing all over, and many states talk about ease of doing business. And in the true sense of ease of doing business, we have put in a good team to advise us to see that we are able to actually, attract investment and foreign investment into the state of Goa. All of us do, and also the monitoring that is being done by the Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, and also trying to assess in each state location what is the type of land that is available in every state, and what is the type of facilities and what is the type of policies each state has. And under that basic umbrella, what we are trying to do is trying to see that we do thorough studies and also work very closely with the industries. Like I mentioned initially, is that we have done sufficient amount of work as far as skill gap analysis is concerned, in trying to tie up in institutions that can basically create that type of skilled manpower that is very much required, where the state invests in providing that type of education to its people, so that we find that the industry then can work in a much more efficient and very in a manner in which that insecurity of availability of people is not there. Creating this type of environment, I think, and creating the synergy in terms of educational institutions, type of education, we have already passed the private universities bill and several other things that we have taken forward. I think this creates a right atmosphere for people to come and invest into the state of Goa. And also we have got also we are in the final, we are our international airport, and creating it as a cargo and export hub is also on the way. Port facilities also, port facilities in terms of as far as Goa is concerned. So these are the couple of things where the government is doing a lot of work. So I think this is something that will attract people to come to the state of Goa.
Thank you, Mr. I'm so glad that we are discussing this. This is going to create awareness about what opportunities Goa has and what the government is doing. I think this communication and this message is extremely important for the participants this evening, sir. And of course, from the other parts in the daytime. Sir, in terms of Goa as a small state and where the land is scarce, it is an ideal destination for startups. R&D, medical devices, pharma manufacturing, etc. What are the steps that the Goa government and your ministry is putting in place to make it attractive vis-a-vis other states who can be offering big financial incentives? Your comment, sir.
No, we are actually, as far as startups is concerned, like when I was talking to about the MOU that we are planning to sign, which is in the final stages with the Yale University of Global Health. We are actually basically trying to see that we create an ecosystem as far as the health sector is concerned, and they want to be a part of us so that we are able to create that type of an ecosystem. They have a small setup. What they were working on a very small scale as in Bangalore, but here in Goa, what we are trying to do is have institutions like them to guide us and move forward. We are also coming out with the entrepreneurship policy, basically targeted at helping these startups. So this is the manner in which I think when we have institutions and experts on board, we can create the right type of this ecosystem that is required, and will encourage startups to get attracted towards coming into Goa and setting it up. We also, in the true sense, worked only with startups and different types of startups during COVID-19, like I just mentioned. We have tied up with a company like iBreast, which we are doing scanning for breast cancer in the rural areas, in the sub-health centers, rural medical dispensaries, and several other setups of the health sector. And also we tied up with another company called Innovator for this app that was initially, which was very important at the time when COVID hit us, when people didn't know actually how do they understand what COVID is. So test yourself. Goa was one of the apps that we started with a company that has done a lot of work in the US called Innovator on the healthcare platform based out of San Francisco. They initially started as a health startup here in India. They've got a good setup now in Noida. And working with these type of people, that gives us a different type of exposure as to what Goa requires and what is the type of policy that will attract a startup into the state of Goa. So working with them and creating that type of ecosystem has been the priority of the state government. And when you mentioned Goa as a small state, I just mentioned that though we have got industrial estates, industrial land which is available, yes, land is scarce. But so we are trying to create a land bank out of the revenue lands that are available, so that we can create a pool land bank and basically utilize this to attract the startups and utilize them and focus them and allot them sector specific so that we can move forward. In addition, I have been pushing along with our union ministers and my leaders in Delhi, including Piyush Goyalji, as far as please to consider, as far as Goa is concerned, we would like, these are the things that Goa is doing. These are the steps that Goa is doing in terms of policy, and these are the areas that we are interested. So he has been very supportive, even in terms of a medical device park. We are very much interested in taking that forward. So this is the way I think we are moving forward, and I think this will definitely help us in taking the right steps and attract the right type of people and working as a team. When we say, as far as Goa, though we are a small state, our interaction with people and with startups is very high, so that we understand what the requirement of a startup is. And I feel after during COVID-19 and the way we are moving forward, I think the health sector the scope for startups in the health sector is going to be very, very high, and this is the way we need to move forward.
Right. So my last question, MSME, sir, as you know, contributes substantially to our country's GDP. It would be nice if you can, sir, share the steps taken by the Goa government for considering the growth of the MSMEs in the state of Goa.
Now, as far as the MSMEs are concerned, what we have been trying to do is basically the large number of MSMEs get funded directly from the government of India. What we have been trying to do is fill in the gap. From the time I have taken over as Industries Minister, what we are trying to do is basically create the skilling of the staff of as far as the MSMEs is concerned, because many times MSMEs find it very difficult to engage in this type of activity. So basically, I thought that is one area in which we can help them. Second, create a database of MSMEs and try to see what type of best kind of a policy or package we can create for the MSMEs, so that we are able to support them in today's times. Today, MSMEs are having a tremendous tough time in terms of COVID-19, and Gadkariji, who's also our minister, has been giving us different ways forward in trying to support the MSMEs. So basically, we need to identify also, when supporting existing MSMEs, also encourage people in the areas that could be the futuristic kind of industry in that particular segment in terms of COVID-19, because COVID-19, I keep stressing on the word on COVID-19, because COVID-19 has basically changed our thought process and policy in terms of making new policies, and what we expect over the next couple of years will be the focus areas. So those are the areas in which we are trying to target and trying to encourage people and come forward as far as MSMEs are concerned. And existing MSMEs, we are trying to see how they are able to compete in today's environment and provide that type of backing, not only whatever backing is coming from the central government, which has put MSMEs as a major focus area under our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, but also at the state level, how best we can help the MSMEs. We are trying to see that it becomes like a package from the center and state to sustain and move forward.
Thank you very much. It was really very interesting. As I mentioned, sir, please share the presentation with us, and we will be circulating it amongst our members. And for any questions, we will ask them to directly write to you. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Saurabh.
Now I would request Mr. Ahluwalia from Houston to give the concluding remarks and present a vote of thanks, sir.
Thank you, Saurabh. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
I bring greetings from the chairman of our board, Tarush Anand, and the members of the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce of Greater Houston from the city that hosted Howdy Modi, showcasing Houston to Indians across the globe. Our relationship with IACC India dates back to when Hon'ble introduced us to the then National President Vikamsey when the IACC leadership was on a trip to Washington, D.C. During a delegation to Delhi and Mumbai with the Harris County Commissioner Adrian Garcia, we met the leadership of IACC in Delhi and Mumbai and identified areas of common interest. And the one we felt offered great potential was leveraging the port of Houston, which is the #1 US port for international tonnage.
You can leave, Sachin. Thank you.
The USA, it's a bullseye for exports to and from the USA. The other area we identified was healthcare. Today, I enjoyed the presentations by Avani and Mr. V.S. Rao, whose experience is very useful for potential investors. Hearing it from an actual investor goes a long way when somebody is looking at investing in a new region. I also enjoyed understanding the opportunities that the states of Gujarat and Goa offer, which brought to mind some initiatives we could help encourage between our two regions. We will encourage Houstonian Mike Mehta, who has a manufacturing facility for medical equipment in Mumbai, to consider moving manufacturing to Maharashtra, from Maharashtra to expand in Gujarat and Goa. We will also encourage our member Gopal Sajani of Ansh Labs, who has developed a COVID-19 antibody test, and see how we can connect him with potential partners in Gujarat and Goa for not only the export of kits, but also manufacturing of these COVID-19 antibody kits in India. There are always bilateral investment opportunities, and listening to the speakers, a couple of things came to my mind. One is we have my neighbor right next door who is creating a manufacturing facility for superconducting wires, which is going to be the need of tomorrow when all these electric cars need to be charged. So that's an inbound investment opportunity. On the outbound, I see the opportunity for one of our other members who reconditions large mining dumpers. So especially Minister Rane, because Goa is so mining centric, he has done a lot of work in Australia where he goes in and reconditions, repowers very large mining dumpers for a fraction of the millions of dollars this costs. And I will encourage him to focus on India to see if there's any opportunity for him to come in and set up a manufacturing unit there. Another area that the minister mentioned was skilling. And Houston is proud to be the home of the Houston Community College System, which is the largest community college system in the USA. And we have been talking to them about collaborating with institutes or governments in India. For example, they offer short training courses. So you may have the best medical equipment, but you need trained technicians. And we can work with the IACC in India and the community college to create a bridge to see how some of this knowledge can be in India. Before I move on to the task of proposing the vote of thanks, which was what I was tasked with, I want to inform you that Houston is privileged to have a very dynamic Consul General of India in Houston, Asim Mahajan, and our chamber is proud to be working with him on bilateral trade issues. So he will be a strong partner for anybody who's looking at bilateral trade with our area. It is now my honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks. I would like to start by thanking Naushad Pandwani, President, Western Regional Council of IACC, for giving me this opportunity to participate in such an important and relevant webinar. We have been in a series of conversations and communications, and I found his passion for his focus on Indo-US bilateral investment very infectious. His efforts will make a great impact, and will bring a difference in the Indo-US trade world. I'd also like to recognize Rakhi Panda, who has always been a valuable resource. I would like to thank our speakers for their insight and opening up our minds to opportunities that we had not realized existed. The Honorable Minister, Mr. Saurabh Patel, Minister of Energy, Gujarat. The Honorable Minister, Mr. Vishwajit, Rane, the Minister of Industry and Health, Gujarat. Ms. Avani Davda, the first CEO of Starbucks India. Mr. V.C. Rao, the Managing Director of Kennametal India. On behalf of IACC India, I would also like to thank their partners, Deepak Bagla of Invest India. The Chamber and the Consulate works closely with Invest India. And it's a pleasure to get to know this very good organization. Sheetal Pansare, Technology Partner from Futurism Technologies. And I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Ranjit from Futurism Technologies for all his support. And Deepak Nambiar from Kelly Dry. Dave Springsteen, Rajesh Mukatli, Jessica Forenza, and Alison Golda with Rhythm. A special thanks to Jessica and Alison for helping on the logistics front in spite of there being a 4th of July weekend. I would like to thank my sister chambers in the USA for their support, the US-India Chamber of Commerce, Dallas, and the Georgia-India Chamber of Commerce. They were both our partners with the chamber in Tampa when we created an alliance in Indo-American chambers in the southern US states in the year 2000. And last but not the least, the leadership at IACC, Naushad Pandwani, Saurabh, Shah, Nilesh, Vikamsey, and Rakhi Panda and her colleagues. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been an honor to be part of today's program, and we look forward to continuing this long-term relationship. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you, Mr. Rane. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Rane. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jagdip.
Pleasure.
Excellent concluding remarks.
Well, thank you very much. It's really a privilege because you guys are doing a great job. I was on an earlier webinar on healthcare, and I realized there's really a lot of potential. And because we have this long-term relationship with IACC, we have a sense of trust. And business is based on trust. And you're bringing in the actual practitioners, the Starbucks and the Kennametals, gives a lot more incentive to people to look positively. And your two ministers were very eloquent and very pointed in their remarks. So I think this was a very, very powerful presentation. I would suggest sharing the recordings with us so that we can share it with our members in Houston, Dallas, Tampa, and Georgia, because that's the target audience. And if you could edit it a little to focus more on the content, it would be very useful. So that's just a suggestion from me. And again, thank you very much for including me. My remarks are over. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ahluwalia.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks to all the participants. Thanks, Naushad, Raki, Jessica, Ellison, Raj, Deepak. I think we conclude the. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you.
Thank you.